All right, it looks like we're live. What's up? I'm Brian Drake. Welcome back to Geek Culture tonight. Here on the latest retro. One thing I would ask, if you're enjoying this so far, or if you just stumbled across this and you're not enjoying it, make sure to click like on the video. Also, subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, make sure to click subscribe, but also hit the bell. It's basically a late night talk show where we just kind of dive into the news. It's going to get more and more of a groove later on as we go, but we dive and talk in the news of the day. When it comes to geek culture, we discuss, we digest, we break apart all the different news that is geek culture. And today's topic, the main question of the day, if you will, before we dive into everything is, what is a creator versus what is a customer? That's what we're going to be talking about today. This goes through all of fandom, like everything that we see from Star Wars to comic books to video games to board games to whatever other fandom there is. This topic is super important, and it's very important right now because of Twitter and direct access between creators and customers and all this sort of stuff. And we'll talk about what sparked this controversy in question today in just a little bit. But before we do that, let's jump into a little bit of comic book news. So, as you know, big DC Comics fan, we're going to start off with a little bit of Marvel news. Obviously, the Fantastic Four is back, which is pretty exciting because I love the Fantastic Four. I know I'm not talking about The Incredibles 1, which is what most people think when they think the best Fantastic Four movie is The Incredibles 1, and that's true, it is. But Fantastic Four is back. Now, why do I bring this up? This has been coming for a long time. You've been seeing it. You've been hearing about it for a long time. Here's why I bring this up. Because as you know, I play quite a lot of hero clicks, as you heard me talk about on one of the first episodes. It's a great game. You know, this is the giant size miniature. These are the smaller size miniature. Look at that original appearance, Rocket Raccoon. He's adorable, right? And for the first several years of hero clicks, you could get Ben Grimm, you could get Mr. Fantastic, you could get everybody from the Fantastic Four and X-Men figures. And then all of a sudden, that dried up, and it was like, no more Fantastic Four, no more X-Men figures, but we got an Inhuman set. Remember that? Remember when Inhumans were supposed to replace the X-Men for Marvel? But Marvel, they absolutely denied it. They said, no. There's no boycott. There's no blacklist of Fox-held properties being used for any kind of IP. Not at all. We're just trying different things right now. There's what are you talking about? Of course, we're going to continue making stuff with our comic book properties. No, they didn't. It's so not true. I don't know if they ever came out and owned it, but they always doubled down and be like, well, of course we're not doing this. But behind closed doors, it's obvious that that's what they're doing. They're stopping, properties like Fantastic Four from getting made. Anyway, Fantastic Four is back, and I hope that means we're going to see some hero clicks coming from Fantastic Four because, man, that would be great. So that's what's up with Fantastic Four. That's up with Marvel Comics. But let's talk about DC Comics. DC Comics had a bit of a kerfuffle in the news this week. And that's what I'm going to show you first here is this topic, this story. Now, let me just preface this. This whole section is going to be dealing with spoilers because the story is about the New York Times spoiling this story. Now, it's 50 issues in. This is Batman number 50 by Tom King. Is that who it is? Tom King, I think it is. I haven't read this. I haven't read any Batman since Snyder left, pretty much, just because it's just when you have a run, it's hard. It's hard to jump onto the next reader. And this is, for instance, after Johns stopped writing Green Lantern, I didn't read Green Lantern from Robert Venditti, but I went back and read it recently. It's really good stuff. It's just one of those things when you love an artist, when you love a creator, and then somebody else takes over, you just have a hard time jumping to that next person with them. Anyway, so this is what I wanted to show you. Let's see, screen share. Let me find this. This again, spoilers are coming. Just know spoilers will be coming. Completely, totally. So don't be upset if I where'd it go? Come on now, quit being silly. There we go. Okay, hold on. Oh, this is being ridiculous. Hold on a second. Here we go. Sorry that took so long. This is going to be actually one of my other screenshots here for in a minute. Spoiler. Here we go. He just wasn't meant to be Batman. Batman number 50 is all about the wedding between Catwoman and Batman, right? This is the big issue. We've been building to it forever. The wedding between Catwoman and Batman. Yet, for some reason, the New York Times decided to go ahead and spoil this story. Now, obviously, this was sent to them from DC. This isn't something you can read the whole story here, and you can read it ad nauseum on comic book and geek culture news sites about why this was the way it was. Okay, dear Lord, get that off the screen. And then it goes through the whole kind of run of the issue about what's going on, what happens, and they write these little letters to each other and gives a recap of the whole story. And then here at the end of the article, it tells you the end. Now, I'm going to tell you here in just a second, but I want to give you about 10 seconds of just to know that I'm going to talk about it. Spoilers. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. 0, 0. Here we go. Back to me. It doesn't happen. They are supposed to meet on the top of the building where they first met, and apparently Catwoman doesn't show up. Bruce waits for about an hour. Then he takes off his tie, throws it, and jumps off in one direction. She drops something and jumps off into another direction, showing that it clearly doesn't happen. Now, according to DC Comics, this is 50 issues. Oh, man, my buddy was so mad about that. I'm guessing this is, about the DC. I see that. That was Max saying that. I'll get to that in just a second. But this was silly because DC then had to just, in order, and I'll see where they're coming from. They sent this out to avoid spoilers and to avoid backlash because they knew, hey, people are going to be upset by this. Like, we're building this up as a huge wedding of the century or the decade, and then all of a sudden they don't get married at all. Then DC sends out a PR thing that says, well, the reason we did this is because, hey, we didn't want comic book shops, as soon as it gets to a shop on Monday, people scanning it, throwing it online, and spoiling the story. And then they kept on going about, that's really why they did it. And then how Tom King's story is 100 issues. This is only halfway through, and it's a wonderful arc. It's one of the best comics in decades. And it also doesn't spoil the surprise shock ending at the end of the issue, which I haven't read, obviously. That may all be true. I just thought it was so strange that they built up to this whole wedding thing between Batman and Catwoman. And this is how they end it. They end it with the fact that they don't get married. So will they get married? Who knows? All I know is that was just a very weird PR thing for DC to deal with. And usually they're pretty good about stuff like that. I mean, they've had some kerfuffles in the past, of course, but that was done really weird. So that gets us out of the whole comic book section. Now let's go over to board games real quick before we do board games, then video games. And Max was talking about this. That makes his buddy was very angry about it. Just a weird thing for them to spoil it themselves. Let's do board games first. Let's be quick. One of my favorite games, probably my number one favorite game of all time, besides Time Stories, and we'll eventually talk about Time Stories on here, is a game called Twilight Imperium. Now, if you haven't heard of Twilight Imperium, it is a huge 8-person, third edition was 8-person, 6-person epic board game. And I'm going to try to show you the art right now. Let's see, this is being silly. Why it's showing kind of silly. There it goes. This is the art for the front of the box, Twilight Imperium 3rd edition. And then I'm going to show you 4th edition too, so you can kind of compare the two. I personally give 3rd edition actually the edge because this lion here just looks to me so much more, it just looks exciting and it looks cool to me, like just very epic. It's the only word I can see there. When I see this, I just think of the word epic. And so this is Twilight Imperium 3rd edition. It's a table eating board game about running an empire, running a universe, basically running a galaxy. Your race versus all these other races. There's, I think, 14 to choose from, and it's pretty gorgeous. Let me do 4th edition. I actually closed out that one. Then I want to show you 4th edition just so you can see the difference in the two. The game doesn't change much between 3rd and 4th edition, other than the fact that it's here we go. I think, let's see if this will show it. Well, this is the Board Game Geek page, so let me just pull up the image here. I did a review on it. You can check out the review I did over at the Dice Tower. Not a plug. You can just see it. But you can see the art here. This art's a little bit different. The lion's looking up versus down. You got a little bit more imagery there. But enough about me talking about the imagery. Let me just tell you about the game. The game itself is a fantastic game. It looks weird though. It looks like Catan on the table. Like you have hexes they look like the universe. Let me see. Actually, while I'm here, I can actually pull up pictures from the game. You have these hexes that look like Catan, and all across the universe here. You got different planets and asteroids, and you've got all your ships there that go on the board, all the different colors and things like that. You have your own actions that you can do, but it's a Ameritrash game that's also got a lot of Euro elements in it. And these Euro elements involve these cards that you see. So there's 1 and 4 there. this is cool. When you do the action on those cards, everybody else gets the turn to do those actions if they want to. And you spend your action tokens. This is only a portion of the components too. You spend your action tokens, you spend your turn wisely deciding what you're going to do in order to gain victory points. First person to 10 victory points wins the game. The way to get victory points, though, is all different based on the objectives that are in play at the time. So it might be own this many types of this kind of planet. It might be have control of the middle planet called Mechatol Rex. It's just any number of these different things get you victory points, and it's just such a cool experience all the way around. Actually, I'm gonna jump off camera real quick and show you this right now. The book that shows all the art from the book right here. It shows all the art from the game. This is a rule book that came when you pre-ordered 4th edition. It's a deluxe rule book, and it's got kind of the rule itself. You know how Fantasy Flight, I should have mentioned this is a Fantasy Flight game. They do the rules reference guide, all such as that. But it also mentions the it also shows all the different races and characters, and kind of just information about the book. Now, Max said that he got about halfway through a game at TI3 before the other guys dropped out. When he says they got halfway through it, he means they probably got about 4 to 6 hours through it. This game is massive. It's a whole day. Like, we've always ended them in about 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours, but only because somebody goes, no, I'm throwing this game. Last time we played, actually, James, which you'll see in some of our videos every once in a while, he rage quit. He literally rage quit, got up, yelled at everybody else, and left. But it was all us guys hanging out, so we didn't really mind if he did that. It just shows how we are. We still hang out. We're still very good friends. But he did. He jumped up, threw his card across the table, and walked out my house about 12:30 in the morning. It was pretty hilarious. So that's what can happen in Twilight Imperium. So that is Twilight Imperium. I want to flip over here to a little bit of video game. This is not news. This is just video game fun. And so the video game fun today that we're going to talk about is my favorite franchise probably of all time. That would be the Mega Man properties. Now, this is from, I think Mega Man 1 is what this is from here. Yeah, because you got the points at the top. I just thought I'd throw up a neat little GIF here. Mega Man is one of the greatest franchises of all time because every single entry is solid in its own way because they don't mess with the mechanics. They don't mess with the controls too much. The only thing they added in the originals 1 through 6 was the sliding and then the charge shot. I mean, some of the rush stuff, of course, but mostly it's the same thing. And what I love about Super Nintendo and NES console platformers like Mega Man and Metroid, like we talked about it recently, was the fact that their weight was right. They just understood the weight when it came to playing. Like you felt right. The characters felt right when they land. Some of these iOS platformers and some of these new platformers today, they just don't feel right when you're playing them. So when you're playing like these kind of new retro platformers that are on like, the PlayStation Store or iOS, something, they just don't feel right in your hands. Something about them. Mega Man always did. Mega Man X, Mega Man, all the NES games. And so now currently on the Nintendo Switch, you can get the Mega Man Legacy 1 through all of them. And then 11 is coming out soon. 11 looks amazing, as well as the Mega Man X collection. To me, I always like Mega Man X better just because it's a little faster, a lot smoother. But those are some great games there when it came to that. Now, that's it for video games, board games. Let me make sure I got all my other topics first before we dive into this dicey kind of controversial topic. But it's one of those ones that's got to be addressed. It just really does. It's tiresome when it comes to these fandom wars that we've been talking about. So the question of the day is, what is an artist and what is a creator, right? Here's what I see a lot online. I see a lot of people do this, and it drives me absolutely crazy. This sentence will come up, whether it's Rian Johnson in Star Wars. We haven't talked about Last Jedi on here yet still. I just want to point out before we do that, I didn't like Last Jedi sitting in the theaters before I even got online, before I read Twitter and was like, oh, other people didn't like this either, huh? Weird. If you like Last Jedi, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't make you a bad person. Just don't get mad at me when I don't like certain things about Last Jedi. That's what drives me crazy. And that's what all this is about. Rian Johnson, John Kasdan, a lot of these people who are making these Star Wars movies are the people in comic books. Comic books it's the roughest in comic books. And I've seen it in board games too, just not quite as bad, in video games as well, where if you have just a small criticism, I should say critique, not even a criticism, as a consumer, as a customer. So it's not unsolicited advice. It's not like one person comes up to you and says, I just really like this one thing. You're like, well, I don't really care what one person says. But when it's a huge large group of people who are voting with their dollar, voting with their, their pocketbooks and saying, well, we do like this or we don't like this. And you turn to people and you go, don't buy my book. Don't come see my movie. Don't buy my game. And you're just like, wait, what? Are you serious? Like, why would you say that? Why would that be your first response to say, don't buy my book, don't buy my movie, don't come to my movie? It's fine. You're just XYZ, whatever, fill in the adjective. And they start calling names. I said, Brian, surely people don't do this. Absolutely. Fire up Twitter. Today it happened. Today it was a little bit silly. Like, this is what prompted this. Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse. Peter Ramsey is the director. This movie looked amazing. Like, the movie looked really great. But today, Peter Ramsey gets on Twitter and he starts saying some weird things, right? He starts making some arguments that just they drove me up a wall a little bit. But it's weird because it ended up coming down to you're a X, therefore don't watch my movie. Just stay home. Don't come to my movie. And I'm like, what is the point? Well, what are you a creator? Are you an auteur? Auteur. I don't even know how to say that word. Auteur, right? That's the difference. And I heard somebody say this. I've heard this example a lot. When you are in a business that you don't own, using an IP, an intellectual property that you didn't come up with, you're not an artist, like an artiste, as it were. You are a hot dog vendor. You sell hot dogs. You give the people what they want. So when overwhelming majorities of people go, oh, we don't like this, your first instinct shouldn't be, well, you're wrong. You're all a bunch of stupid people and you think wrong. It should be, hold on, let me examine the situation. Do they not know about some information that I know coming down the pike that's going to really change their mind? That could always be the case, right? When it comes to comic books. Hey, I've got this arc that's really long and there's one thing's happening here that people don't like, but just wait, just hold on. Do you do that? That's fine. Or do you denigrate your fans and attack your people, your consumers who are watching? That's the worst thing to do, is attack the people who are buying from you, who are your customers. I don't care what your politics are, period. I don't, full stop. But you are in a business to make money. When you work for Marvel Comics, when you work for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when you work for Ubisoft or one of those people, you're in that company to make money for that company. That's why you're there. And if you don't do that, they are within their rights to just fire you. You say, but what about this or what about that? No, of course not. When it comes to making the company money that you're hired for, that pays your paycheck, you need to set up some business practices of not to treat your fans like garbage, not to be like, oh, you're a jerk, you shouldn't read my book. You're a jerk, you shouldn't do this. I hate everything about you, you should do this. That's silly. Why would you do that? Why would you attack your fans? I heard it best. If you can't control yourself on Twitter, if you feel like you have to respond in a negative way to a fan, just get off Twitter. It doesn't make you less of a person. It probably makes you a bigger person to be able to have the self-control to say, you know what, I'm going to step back for a minute. It would be like this. Like, I don't know if y'all know this. I'm a magician for a living. That's what I do. I'm a stage magician. I travel around the country, across the world doing magic, stage illusions and all that sort of stuff, mentalism. If I was to say in a presumptuous way, if someone hires me to do a show and I do the show and I have this brand new idea, this brand new trick I want to do, and everybody in the show hates it. I mean, absolutely hates the trick, right? And they tell me this afterwards. And if I go, well, you just don't understand what I'm doing. You're dumb. You could never understand. Just, you know what? Don't even come to my show next time. Okay. Well, I won't be working much longer. You have to listen to your customers somewhat. Also, you have to not just attack and insult your customers. You can have political differences. You can have religious differences. You can have ideological differences from someone, but we can still be civil. And I'm not talking about the civil like the news are talking about right now. I'm just talking about the fact that we can come together as fans of geek culture, because geek culture, it doesn't have to be this wand or this club that we beat the other side with. It's just something we enjoy. So when it comes to what is an artist, what is a creator, when it comes to you working for a company that you don't own the IP for, that you didn't come up with, that you didn't make, that you're playing with tools that were created 80 to 100 years ago, when the case is someone like a Superman or a Spider-Man 50 years ago, you have to play in the sandbox and play by the rules a little bit. And you can't just denigrate the people who are giving the money to that company to pay your paycheck. That just doesn't work. If you try that any other business that you wouldn't consider yourself an artiste, you'd be fired. If you were a plumber, you'd be fired. If you were at a restaurateur, you'd be fired. If you said, you just get out of my restaurant, you don't even come to my restaurant. Don't worry about coming here. You will go broke. You absolutely go broke. There's a lot of comic book shops that are going broke right now because of this mentality. There are a lot of video game indie developers who are going broke because of this thing. Here's the thing. If that's what you're going to hitch your wagon to, though, if that's your ideological hobby horse and you're okay with that, then go out with your blaze of glory. Go out with your guns blazing and say, hey, this is what I stand for and this is who I am and I'm going out with it. But if you don't, if it's not actually that important to you to where you have to say something on Twitter, you have to say something Instagram, maybe just step back and go, I really want people to come see my Spider-Man movie, which I was all about. I was very excited about seeing this movie. It looked amazing. And then I started reading this dude's Twitter. I started reading this dude's tweets today, and I'm just like, man, politically, that's not what I mean. It's just some of the ways it goes. It all started from an Incredibles 2 tweet. Someone said to Brad Bird, hey, my kid didn't enjoy this movie. And because it was long, had a lot of talking, and I wasn't expecting the cussing. That's what the person said to Brad Bird. Brad Bird said, well, respectfully, it's not a kid's movie. It's a PG movie, animated film. And I was like, oh, you know what? That's a respectful answer. And then this Peter Ramsey guy just starts just attacking and going after and talking about it. And I'm like, dude, you've got a movie coming out, an edgy movie, because that animation style is not for everyone. And you might even give people headaches watching your movie. You've got a dicey movie coming out, but you've got the name Spider-Man attached to it. So you're going to sell some tickets no matter what. But you've got this movie coming out and you're going to get out there and make just this crazy show of yourself. It just doesn't make sense. Why would you do this? Why? So are you an artiste? Are you an auteur? Or are you a hot dog vendor? Do you give the customer what they're asking for and don't slap them in the face when they tell you, hey, can I have some more mustard? Or, hey, can you hold the onions? I don't understand it. So that wraps us up on our controversial topic of the night. But I'm tired of it. It's starting to happen in board games too. It's starting to happen in other kind of games too, where we're just like, well, I'm the artist. I'm the creator. I know better than you. But you know what? Who's going to buy it? Me, not you. You're going to go home and you're going to be asking for money to buy a sandwich if you denigrate your fans. That's just how it works. So my question, what's a creator? What's an artist? How do we figure that out online in this 2018 day where everyone is at everyone else's throats for the dumbest of reasons and some important reasons too? But why? Why can't we just step back and be civil and calm with each other and say, hey, I like Spider-Man. You like Spider-Man. I voted for Donald Trump. You didn't vote for Donald Trump. We can still hang out and bond over Spider-Man. It's just not that hard. And maybe it is. And I'm just not seeing it. That's my 2 cents for tonight. That's the big question. That's what this episode's all about. So I'm Brian Drake here with Geek Culture tonight. Thank you for watching. Thanks for sticking around and just checking out the show. I will see you in a couple days. Happy 4th of July. I'm going to go smoke some ribs tomorrow and some bratwurst that I bought. Man, they've got like bell pepper and just all kinds of crazy stuff inside of these sausages. They look amazing. So happy 4th. I'm as patriotic as it gets when it comes to that kind of stuff. I love it. Happy 4th. Have fun and be safe. And I'll see you next time. Make sure to watch it. Make sure to subscribe and follow. Hit the bell. Till next time. We'll see you. Oh, follow me on Twitter at @TheLatestRetro. We'll see you.